Hello and welcome to AutoSave. My name is Nick Andrade and I'm here with my co-host Camille Salazar-Hadaway. And today we are continuing our journey through Jedi Fallen Order. As I talk, I feel like my voice sounds like I'm sick, but I'm not. But also sounds, I don't know, I feel like when I'm sick, I feel like my voice sounds better. Like I can tolerate my voice better. Right before the recording, we heard like echoes of our voice. And normally I cringe at the sound of my voice because I think my voice is already too nasally and high-pitched. But when it's more toned down, I feel like now I'm more of a man.
I did. It's such a weird thought, but I did see you checking out your voice. Like when you heard it, you were like, oh, it's going to be that kind of day.
Have you ever done like being a host for things? Have you ever done like vocal exercises before a show or something? Like have you ever gone like laga, 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 laga? Or like aga, aga, aga?
Laga.
That's actually a technique.
That Muppet? What's that Muppet? There's a Muppet that's like wacka wacko. Oh, the bear, Fozzie.
Fozzie Bear, yeah.
Yeah. I think goes waka waka. That's what that reminded me of. Which also is a Shakira song, but that's a whole nother ordeal because Shakira is going through stuff right now. But anyways.
Yes, tax evasion.
Yeah, tax evasion. Don't do it, kids. No, so I actually, in my theater days, because I studied theater in university and stuff. So yes, I would do vocal exercises, but then hosting, I don't do any vocal exercises. It's more I just do like physical, like jumping up and down, just because usually right before you go out on stage, you don't have like, unless there's a crowd, you don't have like anyone like amping up that energy. So I usually just physically move around. So it's more like physical exercises.
Okay.
And I'm not the most physical person, so they usually don't go well.
Oh, so you don't like any physical activity whatsoever?
I like, I guess it's a gamer in me. I'm a little bit competitive. I like sports.
Yes.
And yeah, I like the competitive aspect, but I don't like going to the gym. You know, like I'm not a go to the gym person.
If there's no like competitive aspect for you, it's hard to like motivate yourself maybe a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, I understood.
Exactly.
Yes.
I will, this is so bad. We're going into deeper conversations here on AutoSave. But it's like, even with like trying to eat healthy, I'll like start, because I like candy to snack on. I'll have sugar-free candy because I want to feel healthy. But then later in the day, I'll just eat a sugar-filled chocolate cake. So it's like balance, but not balanced. Sugar-free candy, sugar-filled chocolate cake at.
For me, it's especially since the pandemic started and those years in between, Uber Eats, horrible for me. I've probably spent so much money on delivery food, and that's probably the worst for me in general.
Yeah, it's really horrible. But I mean, if Uber Eats wants to sponsor this podcast, come on ahead. We love it.
I mean, I spent so much money on you already, so help me out here. But thanks for our little small chat here about life. But we have a game to go to, and that is Jedi Fallen Order. And this is episode 7 of this game. We're almost near the end. We're getting towards the tail end. Things are happening. A lot of things are moving. We kind of did a lot of planetary exploring in the first part of the game, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the story. And on last week's episode,
join my family, and I will teach you to control the power. Familiar words, Malicos.
Sister Merrin, you overstep your bounds.
For years, you said the Jedi orchestrated the massacre that killed my sisters. Yet here one stands, and you seek only to bring him into your family.
You were told to deal with it. Clearly you lack the power, little witch.
Power. You are mad, Malicos. Dothamir has unmade you, and my misplaced loyalty has allowed you to lead the Night Brothers astray. Unlike the Jedi, the Night Sisters of Dothamir do not turn on their kind.
So Cal visited Dathomir, a lot happened. We got some sinister characters who kind of seemed like they wanted to kill us, at least the Night Sister Merrin did. And then we also met Terran Malicos, who was draped in a black cloak, and that's normally a bad sign, even though he didn't really do anything.
Evil!
100%.
Evil, I tell you. We're not judgmental here.
No, not at all. Not at all. Although we can tell if there's a bad character or an evil character, especially in Star Wars. It seems like you can point a finger at that's the guy or that's the woman or whoever. But more importantly, Cal had a flashback to see what really happened to him during Order 66 as his master, Yaro Tapal, protected Cal right before he died, and he escaped. He lost his lightsaber, and then he basically took Yaro Tapal's lightsaber, and during this episode, his kyber crystal, or his lightsaber, kind of broke and dissolved and burnt out, and then he had to run away from Marin and her many zombies, Night Sisters, who were after him. Talked to Seer. They kind of had like a heart-to-heart. We learned more about Seer and why she turned to the dark side when she was trying to save Trilla. So now it seems like they're better friends, which is good.
Yeah.
However, Cal does
Better
not have a
together.
lightsaber anymore, which is a big problem.
Yeah, that may be a problem. That may be a problem. I mean, can you be a Jedi without a lightsaber? I'm trying to think. Jedis without lightsabers, probably not.
I mean, especially in like our universe and when we watch Star Wars movies, like if you don't have a lightsaber, to me, like I always lean towards the lightsaber characters. Like Han Solo never resonated with me because he was not a Jedi. Luke, however, always like I was a Luke fan all the time. Because I just love, Luke is probably my favorite character in all of the Star Wars universe.
Really?
Yes, he is. I wanted to be Luke so bad when I was a kid.
I feel like as, I grew up with the series, Luke became like one of my favorite characters, but I feel like watching Star Wars when I was younger and not quite understanding how conflicted and like the real story with Luke and like how conflicted the emotions he was going through and all that stuff, I don't think I appreciated him as much. So I would always go with the charm, which was Han Solo. Yeah, I would always go with those characters, like the quirky characters that like make you laugh or have those great
Luke
one-liners.
is funny too. Come on.
Yeah, okay.
Not as much? Okay.
I mean, let everyone listening tell us if Luke is funny, because I don't really think so. But okay.
I mean, he kissed his sister. That's pretty funny.
Is it funny?
Yeah, looking back at it, 100%. Just George Lucas didn't know what he was writing at the time. Anyway.
Exactly.
Back to Jedi Fallen Order, and we are now continuing through Chapter 5, as now we are going to visit the Jedi Temple on Ilum, where Cal hopes to find a new kyber crystal to fix his lightsaber. And since we're talking about lightsabers, here's a question of the day that I have for you.
Ooh.
We've talked about colors. I know purple's your favorite lightsaber color, and we're probably not going to change from that. But
No.
in the realm of like Kylo Ren and how he has a hilt on his lightsaber, is there any other type of weapon that you would like to see as a lightsaber? Like for me, an example is an axe lightsaber would be pretty badass.
Oh, that's cool. I never thought about that. I don't even know if I know my weapons well enough to like answer this question, which sounds so sad. But like, what is the 3-prong thing?
Oh my God, what? Oh, the trident. A trident.
Not a trident. You hold them in both hands.
Oh,
Stabby.
I'm going to get it for you. Wait 1 second. Sai. It's a sai.
Size. Ooh, ninja stars would be cool, but I guess that wouldn't be a lightsaber because then you throw them away. And like your arm would probably, well, your hand would probably be
you can't
burnt
hold it.
But I mean, size would be pretty cool. But then again, I never got the hilt thing because that also puts you at such vulnerability because it's so close to where you're like holding your lightsaber. So it doesn't really make sense, Kylo Ren. I think he was just kind of like, how he's kind of bratty. So he's like, just put the hilts on. Just do it. And then he like killed some stormtrooper in the process just because they wouldn't listen.
In my older years, I basically realized that if I ever did have a lightsaber, I would end up probably stabbing myself by accident because it's a burning like molten lava sword, right? Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it's so hard. Like any tricks I used to do with like a giant wooden spoon I used to have at home, like I probably would have like cut off an arm by accident if I actually had a real lightsaber.
Yeah. Have you ever done like a thing where you take like a stick or something and you're trying to poke between your fingers?
Yes.
Like, you see in the movies how like the knife
I've never done it that
wielders really
intensely. I don't know if you
No.
have, but
No, I would never try that because I've tried it with a wooden spoon before while my mom was prepping dinner, and like all of my fingers would have been gone if that was a real knife. Not that finessed with, weapons and stuff. So I got to make sure maybe like they could put a lightsaber in a safety bubble. Like maybe that could be it,
yeah.
Like
I
the
think so.
bottom, it's just like a cone, kind of like what you put on your dog. So then any of the light from the saber doesn't like actually attack you. It'll just rip the cone in half.
That is a great invention.
Ooh, maybe Sora's blade?
Oh, Keyblade?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be sick, actually.
And then on the chain, it'll just be like, if you want to be, a Sith, it'll just be Darth Vader's head. Instead of Mickey's ear, like Mickey's head, it'll just be Darth Vader's head.
Hey, next Fan Expo or something like that, you make those ideas happen, you could sell so much. You would make so much money. It's a good idea.
All right.
Let's talk after the show.
I'm going to go hunting for kyber crystals. Yeah.
Quickly before we get into this episode, the planet of Ilum I wanted to talk to you about. I did some digging. I don't know if you've heard anything about this planet and how important it is to the Star Wars universe. This is the first that I into the lore of Star Wars. I'm not really too much in depth in terms of my knowledge. However, the planet was kind of familiar to me, and then I ended up finding out the Empire basically took a bunch of kyber crystals from Ilum to create the Death Stars, and those weapons that they use to like kill planets, and the beam that they use is made out of kyber crystals.
That is so cool. That is my issue with the movies. They don't talk about kyber crystals enough because it is a huge part about building your lightsaber and like the journey of becoming a Jedi. And I think that's such a cool fact. Like if they shown or like just gave us a little bit of that tidbit in the movies, I would have been blown away. Like that is so cool.
On top of that, Ilum was also Starkiller Base in Force Awakens.
Really?
So they had made that new Death Star out of the planet based on their kyber crystals as well. So that's how the planet became so powerful. And they didn't mention that in the movie that was the planet. It was actually the book that they wrote afterwards on the movie, based on the movie, that they added that tidbit that it is, in fact, Ilum. So this planet does get destroyed eventually.
That is so cool. But like, this really opens my eyes. And now this whole war in Star Wars is really about a war trying to get kyber crystals.
Pretty much. Or like to stop them getting kyber crystals, as well.
No, it's like, like people, countries go to war for oil. It's like here, it's like the Empire is going to war to build this weapon. So they have to like mine kyber crystals for it.
And this is like the main planet where a lot of Jedi get their kyber crystals. I have no idea if there are other planets that also facilitate this as well. But it's a very, I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I have no idea. But anyway, that's a little factoid.
I feel like there's conspiracy here.
Could be.
What is the war really about?
I mean, there was no Jedi left pretty much, though, when the rebels...
Yeah, that's true.
We can get into this way too much, but it is what it is. But I think you're right. It is probably like a material that was part of the war in terms of like they need that to do X, Y, Z. And then they ended up, making the Death Star. So I guess that's how
and
it
then
goes.
killing a bunch of planets. So
Yeah, pretty much. Well, before Ilum gets destroyed in Star Wars Force Awakens, after the break, Cal is going to travel to the snowy planet.
Cal, you will be tested.
Yeah, but I'm ready.
I don't mean just here. Every Jedi faces the dark side. And it's very easy to fail.
You're still struggling with the dark side. even after cutting yourself off from the Force.
We will always struggle. But that is the test. It's the choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
So Cal is ready to find out who he is. Seer here gives him some good advice, I think, especially having dealt with the dark side herself. She brings up a great point that I don't think many Jedi have ever talked about really, is the dark side is a constant test. It's not kind of that one battle that you have, which we've seen in other iterations, where it's like that one moment where they're, a Jedi is vulnerable and they have to thwart the dark side. It's an ever constant present thing that no matter how much of a Jedi you are, you're always facing this test of anger and frustration and all of that, which I thought was a good point.
Yeah. And I wonder for you then, Nick, is this making you trust Seer more? Right? Because even after Seer kind of poured her heart out there, you're like, eh. But I feel like she's really opening up, exposing this struggle that she has and other Jedi continue to have throughout being a Jedi. And I feel like Nick's kind of like, eh.
Well, no, I mean, you didn't trust her either, right?
Yeah, but then after she poured her heart out, I was like, I 100% trust her.
Okay. I also
No, wait. I need to describe Nick's.
Yeah.
Okay. He literally rolled his eyes.
No.
After me saying I trusted Seer and just brushed off the question of whether he trusts Seer.
That wasn't towards you. I was thinking, okay.
I know it wasn't towards me. It was towards Seer. I completely understand that. But Nick, what is your beef with her?
I don't have beef with her now, and I do trust her more. However,
okay.
what I wanted to say was, especially our previous games that we played, and I've noticed a trend, especially in God of War, which is a lot of our tweets that we've tweeted out the new episode was always like, do we trust so-and-so? It's literally such a main theme in all these games that we play. It's, do we trust this character or not? Are they evil or not?
But we're not judgmental at all.
I know. And it's so I'm trying to steer away from our trust issues that we have in these games.
Okay.
However, I agree with you. I think Seer can be trusted. She opened up to Cal in a way that you can't really say that she's hiding anything now. I think she has been completely honest, and I think the reason why she hasn't been vocal with everything that she said is because I don't think either she trusted Cal enough, or she's also has that inner battle within her where she is still kind of regretting and I think she feels sad about everything that happened. So she doesn't really want to talk about it that much either.
Yeah, for sure.
But right off the bat, let's get into Ilum and the Snowy Planet. Hell yeah, Snowy Planet. Super excited.
Yay!
We don't get to see many of them. I think Hoth was the last kind of snowy planet I've seen. Unless is there any in the new movies? No. Oh yeah, the Starkiller Base, which is Ilum. But other than that,
yeah, the Starkiller Base. Yeah. I also will say I think snowy planets or snowy levels are up there with water levels in video games.
In bad or good?
In difficulty.
Okay.
In terms of when I think of any snowy level, I usually think of oh no, I'm going to slide off something. It's going to be a series of jumps that I'm going to miss and die. I think of that intensity with water levels, which is common. I feel like a lot of gamers, that's common trope. So I'm just putting it out there. It may be a difficult one.
So did you have a tough time on this planet and the winds and, kind of moving around in this planet? Did you get lost because it's just all snowy?
I did get lost a little bit, and it's a little slippy, but it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would have been.
Okay. Well, basically you just have to battle winds to start, and then there's a giant mountain that you have to climb. Halfway up the mountain is where the Jedi temple that you need to go is. However, make sure that you climb all the way to the top because there is a Force Echo, and there is a treasure that you can also get. So go up there first before you forget, and then go back and slide down into the middle part of the mountain, get back down there from the top of the mountain, and that is where the Jedi Temple is. Cal mentions also that the Master Yoda has been here, and I think a lot of Jedi have been here from what we've been told, to find their kyber crystals. To enter the temple, you have to force pull a rope mechanism into the kind of slot attachment, and that's where we get in. And the main part of this whole area now inside the temple is to reflect a light onto a crystal so that we can melt away ice. There's two areas that we have to do this. How did you find this aspect? Because I'll tell you, the second door that we had to melt away was harder for me to figure out than the first.
Yeah, when I did the first one, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I also want to say that I do like this whole, like, we've seen it on other planets as well. They use, in temples, they use this whole, like, either pulley system or, like, a rope mechanism. I do like that. I like using that throughout the game. I just find it fun. Yeah. It just may be me. I don't know if you felt it was a little bit repetitive. But I don't know what it was, but I got lost in this temple so much.
In this first area, or just throughout the whole temple?
Just throughout the whole temple. The first part, though, I did get a little lost because everything was just started looking exactly the same.
There's that, like, you can move this, like, metal thing back and forth.
Yeah, this, like, gold.
Yeah, I don't know what it is exactly. It's like and then you could put one of the ropes on it.
Is it gold?
I think it's made out of gold.
Or like copper or something?
Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if there's kyber crystals on here, maybe there's other types of...
Oh, metal, like, and materials?
You know, metals and stuff like that, too.
I can't...
It looks like just a huge chunk of gold.
It does. But that's where I got, like, to find the way to move that crystal into the slot in order to get to the second area of the cave. That's what kind of, like, threw me off. I ended up figuring it out. You have to open some sort of window where the light shines on the second level, I think.
Oh, I couldn't find that.
But yeah. So I fell down into the hole so many times, and then I just had to, like, swing myself back up and then figure it out. Once you do, it's pretty simple.
I was actually so close to Googling it, but I didn't.
Good for you. Especially, you always hate on me for doing that. So
I don't hate on you. I'm just saying you could be a little more patient.
Whatever
That's all.
you say. Anyway, through the gate, once you figure it out, and you jump into some freezing cold water, and it's over to the crystal caves.
There's heat coming from those cracks underwater, but it's freezing up here. I can feel it. It's calling to me. We must be close. Jedi can't pick any kyber crystal. It chooses you. Yeah, kind of like you.
So my immediate super important question here is answered, which Cal says the water isn't freezing. It's actually warm down there.
But is it? Because I don't see any steam coming from this water. Like, I guess it's not steaming because he would die, right? He would get boiled to death. But I mean, like, there's no...
And that's how the game ends. Cal burns to death.
And then you just see the credits. Yeah. But, like, you don't see any bit of, like littlest bit of steam or, like, littlest bit of, like, air, hot air coming from. They do actually, though, when you get into the water, it kind of, like, makes a heat effect. Like, it looks like it's hot, but...
Unfortunately, I do see, like, the lava things spring bubbles.
Yeah, that's in the water, but I'm saying on top of the water when you're about to jump in,
top. Okay,
you don't see a little bit of,
bubbles,
like...
right?
You know? Like, no bubbles or no, like, little heat waves.
No heat waves.
Like, just... Yeah, so it looks... And, like, wouldn't it kind of melt the ice around it? This was my thing where I was, like, nitpicking. I'm like, you're lying. This game's lying. This water was supposed to be cold. They needed an excuse because they forgot. They need to explain why he could swim in cold water. They put a few little volcano things, and they're like, bam, we got it.
I mean, at least they did that, right? Like, they got the actors to actually voice over, being like, oh, it's actually warm in there. But it's colder on the surface, and if you keep coming up out of the water, it's probably, like, minus temperatures. So he must be freezing cold, especially, like, now he's drenched. And, the Jedi aren't magic. They can't be, like... Unless maybe he gets his lightsaber and he dry cleans his clothes slowly, right? With the heat of the lightsaber. I got it now. I know what happened.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. No wet footprints when he gets out of the water. I don't know. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Cal also says the kyber crystals are near, and they choose you. Just like in Harry Potter and the Wands, they choose you. You don't choose them, which I'm super excited for what that means in terms of kyber crystals and what we are going to see. But as we get closer,
The call's getting stronger. Let's hurry. I feel like I'm surrounded by ghosts. No, I'm not all right. It's hard to be here. Thanks, buddy.
Cal feels like he's surrounded by ghosts. He doesn't like being here, which is weird. But do you think that's because the Empire has killed a bunch of Jedi here, or because the Force is so strong and it's had, I don't know, maybe thousands and thousands of Jedi over the years come here or even die here or something like that? Like, it's interesting how he feels like that, rather than he doesn't feel connected to the Force more. He feels more strange about it.
I never thought about it from that point you were speaking about, where it may be because the Empire has killed so many Jedis here. I more took it as because he is one of the last Jedi. The Jedi have gone into hiding. There is no future that he sees other than this list of like Force sensitive kids of like Jedi culture, that he feels like this place is being haunted by ghosts, or that there's ghosts around, because Jedi religion is kind of like a ghost in itself.
And there must be like, I don't know. I'm still surprised we haven't seen a Force ghost yet. Like, I guess Yarrow, he counts. Maybe the visions, but it was never like a Force ghost.
No. It wasn't a Force
Yeah.
ghost.
I don't know. Whatever it is, probably not a good thing that he doesn't like being here. After some climbing, jumping, running around, we run into 2 Imperial droids that we have to take out without our lightsaber, which I'm kind of confused about, because in the cutscene to start this mission, Seer gives her lightsaber to him, or is that like an attachment to a lightsaber?
I feel like it's an attachment.
Like was hers destroyed?
Maybe she destroyed hers.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was like she destroyed it out of anger, or the crystal just pops when you're like, oh, I don't want to be a Jedi anymore. It's just like, all right, bye. Boop.
Is that maybe that's what happens? Like, oh, you're not a Jedi? You can get a red kyber crystal if you want, loser. But no, like the way she gave it to Cal, it seemed like, here, take my lightsaber, because you don't have one right now.
No, I feel like he's forging his own, and this was like a bonding moment where it's like, use my handle for my Jedi, to make your own.
Okay.
It's kind of like the passing of the torch, but like there's no torch lit yet.
I understand. How do you like using Force powers without a lightsaber? Is it kind of fun a little bit?
So weird. I feel very vulnerable. I'm not.
That's true.
Lie.
I was always afraid that there was going to be some like giant Sasquatch thing that was going to come and attack us. So I was like,
a Sasquatch? This isn't ski free. What?
I mean, we're in a winter planet. I would guess that there would be a Sasquatch.
Oh, okay, like a huge like Sasquatch just like comes out of nowhere. I would actually love it. Like, ski free is such an old reference, but I feel like, I don't know, it's just one of those references that stand out to me. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you go down the hill and then ski free. Remember that old computer game?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Where you're skiing and then like you get to a point because you're doing so well and the game just tries to mess with you that a huge like Sasquatch shows up and eats you?
Yes.
Imagine that happen in this game, just out of the corner in the like just bare graphics, like a Sasquatch just shows up and like eats Cal and the credits roll.
No, that wouldn't happen. But I would see him like get his army enough because, you know, Star Wars loves to, you know, chop limbs off, right?
That's
We've
true.
already seen it in this game too, with the Ninth Sister. So maybe that'll happen, but I don't know. I'm doubting. I'm doubting at this point, especially without a lightsaber. Speaking of those droids before, Seer is worried as to why the droids are here on Ilum. Maybe she thinks that Trilla is tracking them and has a tracking device on the Mantis, so she goes looking for it. But after more just going closer to this kyber crystal, you finally approach the light, only to stumble down and fall into the water. So a couple of things here. One, off the start of this, which is really cool. There's a vision of young Cal who pulls Cal up out of the water. And then when Cal comes up, it's kind of that vision is vanished. But to me, that feels very real. I don't think that was like a vision. I think that's his Force self helping him in time of need, if that makes sense.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like, I think it is like that is one of the tests that you have to go through. Like, if you have, like, what if you aren't sensitive with the Force? Like, do you just, oh my gosh. I've been really dark this whole episode, but do you just drown?
What's going on with you?
Like, if you're
Sasquatches are killing Cal. I don't know.
I know, right? It's the gloomy weather, I guess. But no, like, is it that, you know, that's a test to see if you're Force sensitive or if you understand what a kyber crystal is? Like, what if you are not a Jedi and you fall into that pool? What do you see? Like, what is that test that the kyber crystals give you?
You think like Cal would have died if he wasn't Force sensitive in that situation, if he fell?
I don't think he would have died because then the Empire is mining them and not everyone that works for the Empire is Force sensitive,
That's
right?
true, yeah.
So it's like, I just feel like maybe it is, or maybe it's just like a vision of like, maybe like a something that reminds you of like a bad time. Because for Cal, his childhood was pretty traumatizing. I mean, Order 66, right? So maybe that's like a representation if you were able to overcome that trauma. So if you drop into that pool and you're not a Jedi or Force sensitive, you see like that person or that point in time where you were going through a struggle. And if you haven't, you know, overcome that struggle, then you drown.
Or it could be a metaphor maybe for like Cal lifting himself up out of, you know, he feels, I don't know, but right after he's crying and he said he's failed because he picks up a kyber crystal and it starts to slowly dim away and he starts to cry, especially in a cold place by yourself, I guess with BD1 by your side, but he seems very vulnerable at this moment until.
Failure's not the end, my friend. The time's come. This may be the last you see of me. I can sense the doom of the Jedi Order is upon us. No! Failure's not the end. It is a necessary part of the path. Hope will always survive in those who continue to fight. Like you, BD1. I believe you will find someone just as brave and persistent as you have been. And you will help them, as you have helped me. But your memory will be completely lost. Are you sure you want to do this?
Well, this is probably one of the most emotional scenes in the entire game.
Yeah.
Especially kind of the words that Cordova has where he's basically saying failure is not the end. And, you know, the journey is still so much in front of you. Don't ever be discouraged by failure, which is some pretty good advice. But we find out this is right at the beginning of Order 66, I guess. Cordova knows it's the end of the Jedi, and his plan is to protect BD1 and the names of the Force-sensitive kids by wiping his memory clean, and only someone else would have to unlock the memories, which is what Cal did. But it's kind of this sad scene where Cal realizes that BD1, and again, this shows the emotional maturity of droids in the Star Wars universe. They are very much almost human-like, where BD1 decides that he will get his memory wiped clean so that he can continue this journey on for Cordova, which is, this is droids in the Star Wars universe.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Why do they always get the short end of the stick, though? Like, all the time. It's just like, let's wipe their memory. 3CPO, R2D2. Well, actually, no, R2D2 is sleeping, but 3CPO, it's like...
3CPO, what?
I mean...
C3PO. That's his slang. That's his slang name. It's okay. We're tired. We're tired. Okay, it's fine.
In the morning, so
I know.
I apologize. But C-3PO,
Yes.
I like reverse that. But yeah, it's just, I feel bad for these drones, but it is very touching that they're making these sacrifices for the greater good. I do have a question here, though.
Yes.
And maybe you do know this because you're more knowledgeable about the
Thank you.
universe
Appreciate
of
it.
Star Wars. I was a little confused as to why Cal thought the breaking of the kyber crystals was bad. Because wouldn't he have had to gone on his journey? I guess not as a Padawan. That's something you do
He's done it before.
late.
He mentioned he had done it before when he was a kid.
Yeah, so then why is he sad when it breaks?
Well, because don't you need a full kyber crystal in order to make a lightsaber? I don't think it breaks, though. It just dims its light. It's not broken.
It breaks in two.
Does it?
Yeah, it breaks in two.
Oh, it does. Sorry. It does.
Yeah, and then we get this cutscene.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, build the lightsaber. So like I was a little bit confused on that, but
This is where I think this is, and I think it is confusing a little bit. I didn't really understand what Cordova was saying until I had watched the cutscene over again. And then I understood like the bravery of BD1 and what he was trying to do to protect the names, stuff like that. And a lot of the Cordova plotline in general has confused me at points. But what I got from this is that Cal is moved by BD1 and what he had done, that kind of emotion floods those kyber crystals. And regardless of if they're broken or not, I think they resurge a little bit. And I think what we see is Cal on his journey through Ilum is kind of doubting himself and doubting who he is and doubting himself and whatever it is. But I think it's that emotion from or what he sees from BD1 and what BD1 did to protect those names that kind of resurged that feeling into Cal, which ignited the kyber crystals again to work, is my guess.
okay, that makes sense.
And so this is why I think that's when we get our chance right before the next cutscene. We see the light in the kyber crystal, and that's when we get to decide which color we want, which I got to ask you again. What did you pick?
Do you have to
You
ask?
still went with purple.
You know it. Yep. How about you? What color did you go
I
with?
spent like 5 minutes deciding because I'm like, should I stay with green? And I'm like, no, but there's so many different colors. And I
Yeah.
chose.
Orange was tempting.
Yeah, but I had the pre-pack game thing, so I had orange already.
No, I did too, but it was
Oh, it was
tempting to
tempting to
choose
choose?
again.
Okay.
I'm very stuck in routines. Yes.
okay.
What did you choose, Nick?
I ended up going with cyan because it was
Oh,
not blue, it was not green, it was kind of like that in between. And I liked that difference of blue because when I was a kid, I always dreamed about having like a dark blue lightsaber. Like not a light blue one, a dark
Aw,
blue. And
that's
that's the
cool.
lightsaber I wanted. And that was closely tied into what I remembered as a kid. So that's why I chose it. But basically, after you choose the color, Cal uses the Force as a last-ditch effort to get the lightsaber to work. So in that epic musical cutscene,
yeah, with the swooshing of the lightsaber. Yeah.
Cal gets his lightsaber to work. And like you said, it actually was an attachment from Seer, which he ends up using. And it worked. And now he has the ability to split his lightsaber in two, which is exactly what I wanted because I love dual wielding lightsabers that isn't just one giant lightsaber. And I was floored by this. However, you can't use it as like all the time. It's just an attack that you can use, which is still cool though.
Yes, it is. But it's super cool because it's like also a staff.
Oh yeah, it's ginormous.
I love this. It is a multi-purpose tool, pretty much. This is kind of like the Swiss Army knives of lightsabers. And I am here for it.
It can be one, it can be a double-edged, and it can be two. That's pretty impressive.
Yep. I love it. I also really do like the fact that he, used Seer's lightsaber to create his own. Although, and I do trust Seer, I know we want to stay away from the trust theme. It would be horrible if Seer turned out to betray him in the end, because then it's like, I literally used your lightsaber. It's like, you're best friends with someone and you have something like a bracelet on you to remind you of that friendship, and then you don't want to rip it off. So I think it's a locked in friendship right now because we have Seer's lightsaber.
I'm not even going to think that Seer could turn bad, okay? And I think it's a symbol to show Seer has walked away from being a Jedi, and now we have this made Jedi here who is now, I think, no longer a Padawan, who now is using his friend's lightsaber as a kind of memoriam to who she was as a Jedi, which I think is really cool.
It is cool.
But most importantly, we get to test out the new attack on a plethora of enemies. Once we exit the cave, it's just straight up 50 to 100 stormtroopers that we have to fight.
So
and they all
satisfying.
gather real close too, so you can just pew!
I know. I'm like, bring on the stormtroopers that don't know what they're doing. Come on, let's test this weapon out.
Also some security droids as well, which is kind of annoying, but we have
It's so
many
sad.
phases of enemies.
I really don't like attacking the security drones. They're so
Me neither.
slow moving, and they just stand there. They're so vulnerable. I feel like such a villain attacking them.
I think it was in Rogue One. Yeah, it was in Rogue
Yes.
One where a security droid is their friend. So I associate that with the Rogue One cast, and I always think, oh, come on, they're not that bad. But they probably are, programmed to kill you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we find out that the Empire has taken over Ilum, and they're mining the Kyber crystal. So I think this is where it starts in terms of creating the Death Star, where they start to mine kyber crystals, where we don't really think about it in the story, but it's put in there. And also this game is part of the canon of Star Wars, Disney Star Wars. Let's be real here. But so it makes sense that this kind of connection is here. Cal, though, knows it's time to leave, and we have to escape the temple and fight the Empire along the way, because Seer says the Imperial signal is on him, and everyone is after him. And as we finally make our way out of the temple, we have one more fight, which is a boss fight, I guess. 2 more ATSTs. How did you find this? I found it really easy with my new attacks. I just completely bludgeoned them real quickly.
Yeah, it was the fighting them were very, very easy. And this is always my issue when we get power-ups in games, because I'm just is this now going to be a breeze? I still want a bit of challenge. Even though I know we're at the end, I still feel like ATSTs are an enemy that should still give a little bit more difficulty just because of their size.
Yeah. Also, we've seen AT-ATs in, Winter Planets.
Yes.
Why didn't we see that? It just, to me, there could have been a boss fight somehow. I think maybe there could have been another second sister appearance, or there could have been maybe an appearance
Would it be too much, though? Because we had that whole journey, emotional journey of finding yourself and that resolve of now you are a Jedi again, and then that's good for this chapter. Don't we want to sprinkle it in, or we just want to lay it down?
So I think that's a great point that you bring up. I think that's better for his resiliency. And now he has
I see.
understood who he is as a Jedi, so that he can fight. Because every time we fought one of these sisters, it's been Cal doubting himself. And I think now he's in a position where he feels good about who he is as a Jedi. And especially we got a new attack, I feel like we could have had just a brief fight between somebody, or something bigger like an AT-AT, something more extreme.
You wanted that moment, kind of like in Naruto, when he's going against pain. And he's
yes,
he's broken down, and then he has those flashbacks to all the villagers, and then he rises up and defeats pain. I'm with you.
I think I cried when that happened.
I know, I did too. I cried. I cried even more afterwards when the whole village was like, Naruto, yeah. And like he was finally accepted. Oh my God.
Stop it. No.
But yeah, you wanted that build up, and I'm with you there. Like, yeah, I think that would have added more to this.
That's it. Like, especially escaping to the Mantis. I guess we've escaped to the Mantis a lot, but like that could have been another thing where we just fight them for a little bit and then we escape one more time, if that makes sense. But it is what it is. I'm still happy with Cal's journey altogether. But other than that, that's it for the snowy planet of Ilum. We head back onto the Mantis. After the break, we take a look at one more lovey-dovey cutscene with the crew and talk about the snowy planet some more on AutoSave.
You did it.
We did. I wouldn't be here without all of you. I used to sit on Baraka dreaming about storming Coruscant with survivors from the Jedi Council. Instead, the Order's hopes rest on a gambler, a fallen Jedi, and a failed Padawan. A bunch of screw-ups.
You can say that again.
BD's the only reliable one. He let Cordova wipe his memory so he could stay behind and guide us. But you're both willing to sacrifice everything. To keep going even when it seems impossible.
Failure's a part of the journey.
I get that now. Thank you. All of you.
I think that was the main theme of the entire episode, that failure is a part of the journey and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah, I think that definitely was it. But leading into that theme, and also what you brought up, where a boss battle would have been a little bit that extra oomph just to really make this moment of like being proud of yourself and like confident in who you are, would have really hit that message. Like this part was a little bit corny to me because it was like, oh, BD1.
Oh, really? I like.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, BD1 did this and you did this too. Friends. I feel like it would have hit definitely harder if this was coming off the trail of a boss fight.
Literally, you were okay with no boss
I know,
fight, and
but
now
now
you're on
reminded,
the gravy train.
That's what I'm saying, Nick. You got me on that train.
You know what? I like the sappy moments. That's what part of my favorite. And it's a ragtag team of an ex-Jedi, a kind of swindler, and a failed Padawan who have come together and are now trying to do this, great thing to kind of bring the Jedi back. And it was just this sappy moment that I love. But again, I love sappy moments, right? So all on board.
No, I like sappy moments too. I just think it would have been less cheesy.
Okay.
If he was coming out of a fight and he was like, just that realization hit him at that. He was able to express that realization at that moment with his team.
I think Cal's biggest story arc here now is he's realizing that he is doing exactly what he wanted to do. Like you mentioned in this cutscene, he wanted to storm Coruscant as a kid and kind of rescue, but now he's doing his part. He is living his dream where he is, I feel like, especially in the beginning of the game, he was more like, he was really sad that he couldn't help out as much as he wanted. He was kind of hiding. And this is something like we've seen like Obi-Wan too, where he was hiding and he realized that he needed to do something about it. This is kind of like the same story arc in terms of like, now he's fighting what he believes in. That probably will not be good for him in the long run, but for now, he's really happy about it.
Yeah.
I
mean, you're just preaching facts.
Yes. I'm worried about Cal in this game. Since the beginning, I think he's going to die because, we know that there aren't very many Jedi, if any at all, by the time Luke is around. So it always worries. Well, he's born already here, but, when he gets older.
I'm always in that naive thought of like, you can never kill the main character. You can't do it. So I guess that's why I'm not as worried for him as you are.
Okay. One point I wanted to mention in this episode is the echoes that we hear throughout Ilum. I don't even remember what they were talking about, but I just wanted to mention Master Uba Neba Nochi.
Yeah.
That's my favorite name in all of Star Wars ever. Master Uba Neba Nochi. So I guess he's Italian as well. He's probably an alien, but he's probably an Italian alien who loves pasta and pizza. That's who I thought he was.
And it's from New York, yes. Right? Like to align with Greece.
Just like, would you ever name a child Uba Nebanochi?
I think I would just for
I
giggles.
would now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So watch out, my firstborn child. I might name you Uba Nebanochi.
Uba Nebanochi.
Oh, this is a question I had for you. Why do all the troopers call Cal a traitor? Because he's not like the Empire just, I don't know. It's confusing to me. Unless everyone has to be part of the Empire. Like, it seems relatively new.
He's not a traitor. He was never with the Empire. He literally fled and went into hiding.
Yes. He's not
But it's
Finn.
stormtroopers, so like, should we take what they're saying seriously? Probably not.
That's true. They can't even shoot anything properly.
I know.
What did you think about the new attacks overall? Did you enjoy this new extra lightsaber kind of attack?
Oh yeah. Like I said, it is. Oh,
That sounded so Canadian.
I,
Oh yeah, sure, betcha.
But yeah, no, I loved it. Like, this is, and you had that excitement when you were talking about it. This is kind of that moment we've been waiting for. Like, I know the Force pull was like really big for me, and I love pulling ropes in this one towards you. It's fun.
You do. Yes.
I do. It's so fun. Makes me feel powerful. But like, now having like this multi-purpose lightsaber, it just makes me feel too powerful. I'm too scared that I'm going to just be tearing through the rest of the game.
I'm excited because I think this game is relatively hard on a combat skill level standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So this makes it a little easier because you can really hack and slash these enemies now, which is fun. One thing I wanted to mention too was the lightsaber cutscene at the end. When his lightsaber's fixed, I felt it wasn't as climactic as I thought it would be.
Oh, the musical cutscene. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of just like got the lightsaber to work and then opened the lightsaber into two, which was cool. But I thought like maybe there would be more of a crescendo in terms of this.
And this is
cutscene.
why I'm on the train, because wouldn't it have been so cool? He put the lightsaber together and then you hear the second sister and like she throws her lightsaber or like Force pulls it away.
Right?
Oh, that would have been so cool.
Because then again, like Cal feels good about himself. So now he can put those powers to the test.
Yeah.
That's all. But it is what it is. Anyway, that's it for me. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we missed maybe in this chapter?
I think I'm good.
Well, there you go. We are in agreement now, though, that maybe we should have had a boss fight. I'm happy that you're on this baby train.
I am. Now I'll be asking for a boss fight in every single episode.
Thank you. See? There you go. Well, guess what? We're probably going to have some more boss fights as there's only a few chapters left in this game, and there's 3 episodes left for us. So we'll see what happens, especially next week, because that's when we head back to Dathomir on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcast, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.
AutoSave.
Oh, yeah.